Hey, tonight we're exploring something strange, something unsettling but gentle in its own slow drifting way. It's about science, the kind that stares too long at the human soul and wonders quietly what will happen if we press just a little further. You close your eyes and imagine a room where time disappears. No sun, no ticking clocks, no way to know if it's morning or night. Just soft, controlled light that never changes. Walls that don't echo. And silence, broken only by your own breath. You probably won't survive this world unchanged, but that's the point. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you enjoy quiet stories like this. Let me know in the comments where you are and what time it is, if you're still awake. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk now, slowly, into a mountain. Not over it, into it. There's a steel door, barely marked. You pass through into cool concrete where fluorescent lights hum low overhead. This is sommeil profond, deep sleep, a study buried in the French Alps in the early 1960s. A man named Michel Seifer is already inside, waiting. He's volunteered to live here with no clocks, no sun, no cues of any kind. For 2 months, maybe more. At first, time moves like molasses. He reads, he eats canned food. He notes the passing of what he believes are days in a notebook. His only connection to the outside is a telephone, wired to scientists who are listening but never speaking. He reports when he sleeps, when he wakes, what he dreams. He believes 25 days have passed. In truth, 48 have. You imagine what that feels like, losing the thread of time. Your body still follows its own rhythm, something buried deep in your cells. But your mind, it starts to drift. Michel begins to speak to spiders. He writes poetry, then forgets he wrote it. At one point, he reports that he feels time has stopped completely. Later studies would call this circadian decoupling. Your biological clock keeps ticking, but without light, without sound, without social cues, you begin to float outside of time. There's a moment, scientists noted, when Seifer stopped following his own journal. The numbers became inconsistent. He thought he had slept 8 hours when it had only been 3. Or believed he'd just woken when he'd been up for nearly a full day. What's quietly fascinating is that his internal clock didn't fail, it simply slowed. On average, Michel's natural days became about 25 to 30 hours long. A soft, stretching rhythm that resembled sleep patterns of cave-dwelling animals more than humans. One researcher later reflected that humans, when removed from society and sun, become more dream than person. Their thoughts spiral, their memories blend. You become, as he put it, a slow creature of the deep. What's eerie is how peaceful Seifer said it felt. Not terrifying, not like being trapped, more like floating in warm fog. He missed light, yes, but he said he felt unburdened, detached, perhaps even meditative. There's an unresolved question that lingered long after the study ended. If we lived our lives without clocks, without time dictating every hour, would we go mad? Or simply change? In later decades, NASA used his work to study astronauts. They worried about how long a person could survive in isolated modules, circling Earth with no sunrise. Seifer had shown something unexpected. The body survives, but the mind rewrites reality. Now imagine yourself in that chamber. Nothing tells you it's morning. No footsteps outside the door. No bird song. Only meals you eat when you're hungry and sleep you take when your body demands it. You begin to dream while awake. You remember childhood memories you hadn't thought of in years. You talk to your reflection, and time, that sharp-edged ruler of life, begins to dissolve into mist. They say when Sifra finally emerged from the bunker, blinking under real sun, he smiled like a child. He had guessed the day wrong, guessed the time wrong, but he had never truly felt lost. That was the first hint that sleep and time itself might be more flexible than we believe. And you wonder now, lying there in your own quiet space, how much of your life is ruled by the artificial ticking of seconds? Whether your body would find its own rhythm, given the chance. Whether the slow pulse you feel in your chest might be more honest than any alarm clock. A man once floated through days with no sunrise and found, in the darkness, a different kind of light. You drift now from the cold silence of the Alps into a softer memory, one not your own, but echoing like something remembered from a dream that isn't yours. You see a small room, faint light, a white rabbit in a wire cage. A baby sits nearby, chubby-cheeked and calm. His name is Albert, but only as Little Albert, the subject of one of the most quietly unsettling experiments ever approved in the name of science. He doesn't cry at first. In fact, he smiles. The rabbit seems harmless, soft, gentle. He reaches for it, unaware of what's coming. Then, behind him, a sudden noise, sharp, metallic, jarring. A steel bar struck with a hammer. It echoes. His body jumps. His mouth opens wide. Not a laugh, but a cry. Not from pain, but from something older. Older than understanding, fear. And this is the point. The experimenters, John Watson and Rosalie Rayner, wanted to prove that emotions could be conditioned, that fear could be created, designed, engineered. Each time the rabbit appears, the noise follows. Again and again and again, until little Albert begins to tremble at the rabbit alone. Even when there is no sound, no bar, no hammer, only white fur and the memory of fear. Later, they test more things. A white dog, a Santa mask, a fur coat. Albert flinches, cries, clutches whoever holds him. His fear, once precise, begins to spread. It no longer belongs to the rabbit. It belongs to anything white and soft. This is called generalization, and it's one of the quietly fascinating principles of human psychology. Once fear is rooted in the nervous system, it can grow like ivy, climbing across categories, objects, even ideas. Fear doesn't need logic. It only needs repetition. Now you lie there, listening to the rhythm of your own breath, and you wonder how many of your own fears were planted the same way. Not by trauma, but by association. Not by danger, but by repetition. Maybe you were told not to speak up as a child, and now, even as an adult, your voice shakes in meetings. Maybe you failed once, long ago, and now your mind rehearses failure like a ritual. That's conditioning, not weakness. And little Albert, he never learned to unlearn his fear. The most eerie part of the story isn't the experiment itself. It's what came after, or rather what didn't. There was no deconditioning, no therapy, no soothing. Watson and Rayner never attempted to undo what they'd done. The rabbit was packed away, the child was returned to his home, and the fear remained, unnamed and unexplored. Researchers have spent decades debating who Albert really was, whether he lived a long life, whether the fear faded, or if, somewhere deep in adulthood, he still flinched at the sight of white fur, without knowing why. That question lingers, open-ended, like a dream that doesn't resolve. One researcher claimed to have traced him years later. His name, they said, was Douglas Merritt. He died at age 6 of hydrocephalus, the brain filled with water. If that was truly Albert, then he never lived long enough to unlearn what science had taught him. But we don't know for sure, and that uncertainty, like so many things in science, is part of the story. The quiet irony is that Watson's work helped lay the foundation for behavioral therapy, methods that now help people unlearn fear. Exposure therapy, desensitization, the soft, patient work of reteaching the nervous system to feel safe again. You can almost imagine a future version of little Albert, grown now, sitting in a quiet room. A therapist places a white rabbit in front of him. No sounds, no steel bar, just silence. And the chance at last to rewrite the memory. But history doesn't offer him that ending. It stops with the fear. It stops with the crying. Tonight, as your thoughts slow and drift, you may remember things you feared as a child. The dark, a voice raised too loud, a face too close. And maybe, like Albert, you never chose those fears. They were chosen for you. Taught. The human brain is soft clay, especially young. It learns fear like a lullaby. But what science is still unraveling is whether those lullabies can be unsung, whether fear, like love, can be unlearned, whether memory can be rewritten in silence. And perhaps in some way, that's what sleep is, a nightly experiment in gentle unlearning, in releasing the metal bars and rabbits of the day, and returning, if only for a few hours, to a place before the fear was taught. You find yourself now in the stillness of a long hallway, bare, clinical, softly lit by morning gray. The floor creaks beneath your steps. You follow it into a dormitory, where thin men sleep in narrow beds, bones pressing gently against sheets. Their ribs rise and fall like metronomes. Calm. Starved. Willing. This is the Minnesota starvation experiment of 1944. And it's not a prison. It's not punishment. Every man in this room volunteered to be here. You pause near a window, though there's little to see. Snow drifts outside. The world is at war, and these men, 36 of them, chose this path so others might live. They were conscientious objectors, people who refused to fight but still wanted to serve. Scientists had a task for them: simulate famine, study starvation, and learn how to bring starving people back from the edge of death. At first, their lives seemed ordinary. They were fed normally, trained physically, given structure and purpose. But then, over the course of 6 months, their daily calories were cut in half and then halved again, from 3,200 to 1,600, to sometimes less. The effects were quiet at first, a little dizziness, a touch of irritability, but over time, their bodies transformed. Faces thinned, thoughts slowed, hair fell out, their hearts shrank, literally shrank. The body, clever in crisis, pulls inward when it's starving. One man became obsessed with recipes. Another spent hours looking at cookbooks he couldn't use. They chewed gum until their jaws ached. They watered down food to make it seem like more. They dreamed of meals they hadn't had since childhood. What's quietly fascinating is what happened to their minds. Depression, apathy, isolation. One participant chopped off 3 fingers with an axe. He said he didn't know why. The body needs fuel, yes, but the mind, it needs hope. And hope requires energy. Without it, even volunteers begin to unravel. You think now of hunger not as a physical ache, but a kind of fog. A slow veil drawn over joy, over thought, over movement. You remember days where you skipped a meal or two, the dull headache, the short temper. Now imagine that, stretched over half a year. And they were being watched, of course. Every bite, every breath, every heartbeat logged. But they weren't prisoners. They could walk away. None of them did. There's something hauntingly beautiful in that. They allowed themselves to waste away not for glory, not for science alone, but for strangers, for refugees, for a world they'd never meet. Their suffering was a kind of message. This is what famine looks like inside a human body. Learn from it. But there was a cruel irony. When the study ended, recovery wasn't simple. Refeeding, eating again, hurt. Some men binge ate to the point of vomiting. Others couldn't stop crying while eating their first full meal. Researchers learned that starvation wasn't just physical depletion, it was mental reprogramming. And the way back was just as slow as the descent. You lie there now, maybe with a warm blanket drawn over your shoulder, and you think about fullness, about how we use the word not just for food, but for life. A full heart, a full day, a full night's sleep. And you understand now that when the body is emptied, everything else thins with it. One unusual detail remains in the records. The men, after all the suffering, missed it. They reported years later that the experiment had given them a sense of meaning they never felt again. That the shared suffering, the purpose, the quiet observation of their own unraveling was something like transcendence. Researchers still wonder if that longing to suffer for something real is part of what makes us human, and perhaps it is. Perhaps hunger is not just about food, but about purpose, about sacrifice, about connection. Even in starvation, these men felt bonded to humanity. You let your mind drift now to your own hungers, the quiet ones, the things you yearn for, the things you've denied yourself, not out of cruelty, but out of habit, out of noise, out of forgetting. And you wonder which of your own emptinesses are waiting to be named, to be gently refilled, not with food, but with stillness, with meaning, with sleep. In the quiet dormitory, the lights remain dim. The men lie still, breathing shallow, dreams sparse. They don't know yet what their sacrifice will mean, only that someone, someday, might learn from their slow fading. You close your eyes, and for just a moment you feel their stillness stretch across time. Your mind drifts again into a room where light doesn't change. There's no sunrise here, no nightfall, only the pale buzz of fluorescent tubes humming softly like insects caught behind glass. You enter slowly, watching the men inside. Their eyes are open, not in wonder, not in fear, just open, wide, staring, but not seeing you. This is the place where sleep was stolen, not lost, taken, with intent, with design. You've heard the legends, maybe of Soviet sleep experiments, where prisoners were forced to stay awake for weeks, slowly descending into madness. But beneath the myths, there's a quieter, real story. And it begins with a question. What happens to the mind when it is denied the right to rest? Sleep deprivation has fascinated scientists for centuries. Not just because it's dangerous, but because it's so natural, so essential, and yet so fragile. You pause by the cot of a man named Randy. His eyes are red at the edges. He doesn't blink often. His lips move slightly, repeating a phrase no one understands. His name echoes in history because in 1964, he stayed awake for 264 hours, 11 days. No stimulants, no drugs, just curiosity and a teenage desire to test human limits. Randy Gardner was a high school student. His science project became one of the most quietly terrifying endurance tests in modern memory. At first, the effects were minimal. He laughed, he joked, he made fun of the scientists watching him. But soon, time began to melt. He couldn't focus, he confused colors, he forgot why he entered rooms. His speech slowed, his balance failed, hallucinations arrived like fog. He believed he was a famous football player, thought a street sign was a person, forgot how to count. But here's what's quietly fascinating. He never went insane. Not fully. His body adapted, imperfectly. Strangely, but it did adapt. Researchers noted something unusual. When Randy finally slept, after nearly 2 weeks awake, he didn't need to catch up all 11 days. He slept deeply for 14 hours, woke, and returned to almost normal. It was as if the brain had been rationing rest, like an emergency manager cutting off non-essential systems, hoarding REM cycles somewhere in the background. And this is what puzzles scientists to this day. Sleep is essential. Deprive a rat of it, and it dies within 2 weeks. But deprive a human, and the body becomes strangely elastic. Fragile, yes, but resistant, somehow. You sit now in the corner of the lab near another subject. She's awake on her 5th day. Her hands tremble, her skin is pale, but she's smiling, talking to someone who isn't there. She's aware of the hallucination. She knows it's not real, and yet she speaks kindly to it, as if in the absence of dreams, the mind creates waking ones. There's a softness to the tragedy, not chaos, not violence, just a slow fraying. You reflect on the nights you've stayed up too long, maybe by choice, maybe not. The way your thoughts began to echo, the way shadows looked different, the way you started to feel like a ghost in your own life. Sleep is more than rest. It's a reset of reality, and when you are denied that, the world bends. There's a famous study from the 1980s where subjects stayed awake for only one night, and their brains began to misfire like they were drunk. Memory collapsed. Reflexes slowed. Emotions flared. The line between wakefulness and dreaming blurred. And in some cases, parts of their brains entered sleep while they were awake. A kind of waking microsleep, just seconds. But enough to cause lapses in awareness. Enough to make you forget where you are, while your eyes are still open. That's the eerie detail. Your body can sleep in pieces. You wonder now, as you lie there listening to this story, if it's possible you've already drifted into one of those moments, that brief blank space where you're technically awake, but your mind has wandered ahead without you. Sleep isn't optional, but it's also slippery. It can visit in flashes, in fragments. And science still debates what sleep really is, not just biologically, but philosophically. Are you truly you when you don't dream? Or is dreaming the default state and wakefulness just the interruption? Some researchers wonder if waking life is merely the surface tension atop a sea of subconscious tides, always tugging, always waiting, and sleep is the release. And so when sleep is denied, not just delayed but erased, it's not just fatigue you experience. It's a kind of disconnection, a floating, a fading, like film exposed too long to light. The eyes stay open, but the self begins to dim. The story of sleep deprivation isn't about monsters or madness. It's about fragility and resilience and the quiet plea of the body to return home, to rest, to dream, to forget for a little while. You close your own eyes now, not out of exhaustion, but in empathy. You feel the weight of your own lids, the cool relief of darkness. And for just a second, you wonder what your mind would say to you if it had been awake too long. If it had started creating little dreams just to survive. And then, you let it go. Now you move through a different kind of space. A basement. Not ancient, not crumbling, just plain and white and disturbingly clean. The floor echoes when you walk, though you barely make a sound. There are no windows, only numbers, uniforms, whispers behind closed doors. This is not a prison, not really, but it wants to be. You're drifting into the Stanford prison experiment, conducted in 1971, a study that began with clipboards and contracts and ended in chaos. You imagine the hallway, one door labeled guard room, the other prisoners. On paper, this was psychology, a simulation. College students assigned roles, some as guards, some as inmates. 2 weeks of observation. That was the plan. But you already feel it, don't you? That edge in the air, like something soft being pulled too tightly. At first, it's all awkward smiles, a strange kind of role play. But quickly, too quickly, the lines sharpen. The guards invent rules, enforce punishments. They wear mirrored sunglasses to hide their eyes. They force prisoners to do push-ups, to clean toilets with bare hands, to strip and stay silent. The prisoners comply, then resist, then collapse. What's quietly fascinating is how fast the transformation occurred. Within 36 hours, one prisoner had a breakdown, sobbing, screaming, begging to leave. Another was placed in solitary confinement, a small dark closet, alone for hours. This was not in the original script, but the guards made it so. You wonder, gently, how it happens. How ordinary people, just days ago eating cereal in dorm rooms, can step into a role and become something else. Cruel, cold, detached. The answer is complex, but it whispers in terms like de-individuation, the loss of personal identity in a group. When you wear a uniform, when you're given authority, when no one questions your choices, you change. Or perhaps more truthfully, you reveal. One eerie detail from the experiment stands out. A priest brought in to talk to the prisoners referred to them not as volunteers, but by their assigned numbers. He asked them if they wanted help finding lawyers. Not therapy, not reassurance. Lawyers. Even he forgot it was a game. Zimbardo, the lead researcher, didn't stop the experiment. Not when prisoners cried. Not when guards laughed at their pain. He stopped only when an outsider, a woman named Christina Maslock, entered the basement and said simply, "This is wrong." She was the only one, it seemed, who remembered it wasn't real. The experiment lasted just 6 days. It was supposed to go for 14. And what lingers isn't just what happened, but how quickly it happened. How thin the membrane is between civility and cruelty, between human and monster, and how much of it is costume, circumstance, suggestion. You lie there now, listening to the soft hush of your own breath, and you wonder, if you had been assigned a role, guard or prisoner, what would have changed in you? What would have been drawn out? Psychologists still debate whether the Stanford prison experiment proved anything. Some say it was flawed, unethical, more theater than science. But others argue it revealed something vital, that the context we're placed in can shape our choices more than we want to admit. And isn't that quietly terrifying? Because if goodness can fade so quickly in a basement, how fragile is it in the world above? There's a theory called the Lucifer effect, named by Zimbardo himself. It suggests that evil isn't always born. Sometimes it's invited, grown, watered by environment, anonymity, power without oversight. You think now of the guards who cried after it ended, not out of guilt at first, but confusion. They said they didn't recognize themselves. One asked, "How could I enjoy watching someone suffer?" No one had an answer. And perhaps that's the most disturbing part. Not that we become monsters, but that we don't notice it happening until someone reminds us. And so, as you drift further into this soft exploration of human edges, you hold on to this one quiet truth. We are not fixed. We are not immune. We are not always who we think we are. But that doesn't mean we're doomed. It only means we must wake gently to our choices, our roles, our masks. And maybe in some basement of your own mind, there's a door you've kept closed, labeled "just doing my job," or "it wasn't me." Maybe tonight, just noticing it is enough. Now the hallway narrows, the echoes fade, and you find yourself in a room where silence becomes sound. It's not quiet the way your bedroom is quiet at night. This silence is something else, total. So complete, it begins to press against your skin. You're in an anechoic chamber, a place designed to absorb all sound. The floor floats. The walls are thick with wedges of foam. No windows, no reflections, not even a whisper of your own footsteps. you sit, you breathe. And for the first time, you hear things you've never heard before. The soft beat of your own heart, the pulse of blood behind your eyes, the gurgle of digestion, the whisper of air moving through nasal passages. It's not peaceful, not really. It's too intimate, too internal. The quiet becomes loud. One quietly fascinating fact: the longest anyone has lasted in an anechoic chamber, without light or distractions, is about 55 minutes. Most people beg to leave after just a few. You don't go mad. You just start to vanish. Your sense of space collapses. There's nothing to reflect your voice, nothing to affirm that you exist beyond your own skull. Some report dizziness. Some say their limbs begin to feel detached. Others say their mind starts filling the silence with phantom sounds, auditory hallucinations. You think of it like a dream engine. The brain, deprived of input, begins to make its own. Footsteps that aren't there. Voices calling your name. Familiar songs looping quietly. A mother's breath. A dog's bark from 10 years ago. It's eerie, yes, but also beautiful, because the silence reveals what your brain does to stay connected. It refuses to exist in a vacuum. It insists on narrative, on noise, on companionship. There's an unsolved question in neuroscience. Is silence unnatural to the human mind? Some suggest we evolved to crave ambient noise, the rustle of trees, distant animals, flowing water. Total silence, in contrast, feels dangerous. In the wild, it often means a predator is near, or that something is deeply wrong. And so the body reacts, even in a safe, padded room, as if it's being hunted. You lie still now, maybe surrounded by your own night sounds, a distant car, a ceiling fan, the breath of someone you love nearby. And you realize how gently those sounds cradle you, how they say, you're not alone. But in the chamber, there are no such reassurances. In 1962, NASA used anechoic chambers to test astronauts' tolerance for isolation. They discovered that, in silence, some began to question their memories. Some cried without knowing why. Some fell asleep sitting up, their minds rejecting the weight of awareness. You reflect now on the idea that sound isn't just sensation, it's orientation. The hum of a fridge tells you you're in a kitchen. The sound of birds, a morning. The hush of traffic, a city. Strip that away, and the map of the world inside your head begins to blur. What's more eerie, some people find the chamber calming. Addictive, even. They describe it as returning to the womb. A place before language, before separation. Just heartbeat and breath and time that doesn't move. Others flee it, sobbing. And you think now of your own relationship with silence. How often do you fill it? Music, podcasts, conversations, internal narration. All the tiny noises we use to anchor ourselves to the present. And what if, just what if, there's a part of you that needs to be disoriented now and then, that wants to dissolve into something softer, to lose the shape of your body, to float. There's a theory among sound engineers. The silence in anechoic chambers can't be recorded. Not fully. Because microphones, too, crave echo. Without it, even machines feel lost. Tonight, your own silence is not that deep. It's padded by the world around you. But maybe just for a moment, you can listen differently. Not to words, not to meaning, but to absence. The space between sounds, the pauses between thoughts, the quiet pulse of your own existence. Let it rise, let it fill the room, let it be enough. Now, float with me into a more haunting chapter, one where the mind is sliced, not by a knife, but by science. In the mid-20th century, scientists discovered something peculiar about the brain. Its two hemispheres, left and right, could function independently if the bridge between them, the corpus callosum, was severed. This wasn't theory, it was tested. on real people. The procedure, known as a corpus callosotomy, was designed to help patients with severe epilepsy. And in many cases, it worked. But it also unlocked something far stranger: split consciousness. One man, known in journals as Patient WJ, underwent this surgery. Afterward, he was given simple tests. A word was flashed to his left visual field, processed by the right brain, and he was asked to say what he saw. He said nothing. But when asked to draw it with his left hand, also controlled by the right brain, he drew it perfectly. Why? Because the right side of his brain saw the image. It understood, but it couldn't speak. Language lives in the left hemisphere, and the bridge was now gone. This raised a stunning question. Can one human body house two minds? One experiment went further. A split-brain patient was shown two different images, one to each eye. A snow-covered house to the right, a chicken claw to the left. When asked to choose matching images with each hand, the right hand picked a chicken. The left hand pointed to a shovel. The patient was asked why. And here's where it gets eerie. The left brain, responsible for speech, didn't know why the left hand picked the shovel, so it invented a reason. He said, "Oh, the chicken claw goes with the chicken, and the shovel is to clean out the chicken coop." A total fabrication, a cover story. The speaking side of his brain was confabulating, making up a narrative to explain actions it didn't understand. And it believed it. Let that settle in. Somewhere inside you, there may be a hidden narrator, constantly explaining your behavior, even when it doesn't truly understand what's going on. You feel something. You act on instinct. You lash out, or reach out, or walk away. Then later, your mind rushes to explain it. I was tired. She made me angry. I just knew it was the right thing. But what if those are just stories? Neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga, who pioneered many of these experiments, once said that your conscious self is like a press secretary, not a president. It doesn't decide, it just explains. You are the mouthpiece for a committee of hidden forces, emotions, memories, reflexes, impulses, half of them silent, half of them unseen. And maybe tonight, as your body rests and your brain begins its descent into sleep, you can ask yourself, who am I really? Am I the voice in my head or the thing beneath the voice? Am I the story I tell or the thing being explained? This isn't a nightmare. It's not a horror story. It's just the strangeness of being human. You contain multitudes, layers, depths of cognition you'll never meet directly, and yet every night they come out to play. When you dream, your brain becomes a shapeshifter, a storyteller with no editor, a director with no logic, and somehow it feels familiar. So maybe these experiments aren't as distant as they seem. Maybe there's a split-brain patient in all of us, a quiet half watching, interpreting, guessing, inventing. But for now, let all those inner voices fall quiet. Let the storyteller go silent. Let your mind unspool itself from the need to explain. There is nothing to justify, no logic to uphold, just sleep, deep, surreal, and beautifully strange. Close your eyes. Now imagine you have a twin, someone who shares your genes, your potential, your quirks, your fate. But you never met them. You never even knew they existed. That's the real story behind one of the most secretive and disturbing psychological studies ever conducted in modern science. And it began with a lie. In the 1960s and 70s, a quiet adoption agency in New York had a strange protocol. When twins were born to mothers who couldn't raise them, they were separated intentionally. Not for practical reasons, not by accident, but as part of a covert scientific plan. Each twin was placed into a different type of home, wealthy, working class, strict, permissive. The idea? To watch them grow up in isolation and study how much of who we become is shaped by nature or by nurture. Except, the children were never told, nor were the parents. Instead, they were simply told the child was an only child. But behind closed doors, the researchers were watching. Psychologists visited the homes regularly under the pretense of developmental check-ins. They filmed the kids, measured their behavior, took notes, and all the while their twin, the other half of their life, was living just a few miles away. You imagine a boy named Ethan, 6 years old, bright, restless. His mother wonders why he sometimes stares out the window like he's searching for something invisible. And across the city, a boy named Adam is doing the same. Same fingers tapping, same habit of humming while thinking, same sleep troubles, same laughter, same anger. Two strangers, living the same script with no idea they were split by science. The study was spearheaded by Dr. Peter Neubauer, a psychoanalyst who believed he could finally answer one of psychology's oldest questions. What matters more, your genes or your environment? But instead of asking permission, he chose secrecy. Instead of transparency, he chose observation. The subjects were children, unaware, unconsenting, unprotected. The ethics? Well, at the time, ethics boards weren't quite what they are now. Much of this flew under the radar, hidden under bureaucratic fog. Even years later, when journalists asked questions, the answers were vague. Records were sealed. The data? Locked away at Yale University, under agreement that they stay closed until 2065. Some of the twins did eventually find each other, by accident. In 1980, a college student named Bobby Shafran arrived on campus, only to be greeted by strangers saying, "Hey, Eddie." Confused, Bobby insisted he wasn't Eddie, but everyone swore he looked identical to another student who had recently dropped out. That student was Eddie Galland. When they met, they realized they were twins. Their story made headlines, two long-lost brothers reunited by coincidence. But it didn't end there, because a third boy, David Kellman, saw their story in the paper. He looked just like them. He had the same birthday, the same adoption agency, and suddenly, it wasn't two twins, it was triplets. The three boys became overnight sensations, talk shows, magazine covers. People called them a miracle, but behind the cameras, they were struggling. Years of being unknowingly observed had left scars. They had similar habits, but different traumas, different families, different parenting styles, different emotional wounds. One of them, Eddie, suffered from severe depression. He took his own life at the age of 33. The tragedy cast a shadow over the entire story. What had been called a scientific breakthrough now looked more like a psychological betrayal. And the rest of the twins? We still don't know how many were part of the study. Dozens, maybe. Some found each other, some never did. Some are still alive today, walking through life, unaware that someone somewhere is watching, waiting, with data on them they've never seen. There's something chilling about the idea of being studied without your knowledge. It turns your ordinary life into an experiment, your memories into data points, your childhood into a variable, and all for what? A theory? A paper? A question we may never truly answer? As you lie in bed tonight, think about this. Is your personality something you built? Or was it coded into you? Pre-written, like DNA beneath the skin? If you had been raised in another home, with different parents, different traditions, different expectations, would you still be you? Or would you be someone else entirely? The twins never knew each other, but their bodies did. Their minds echoed the same shapes, their emotions the same tremors, like two instruments tuned to the same note, playing a part. Sleep may be the only place where those echoes still meet, where what's hidden rises and what's separated finds its mirror again. So if tonight your dreams feel oddly familiar, as if someone else is dreaming them with you, maybe they are. It started in 1939. In a quiet lab at the University of Iowa, a small group of researchers gathered around an idea. Not an ordinary idea, a disturbing one. They wanted to know, could you make a child stutter? Not help them recover, not fix a speech problem, but create one from scratch, not through surgery, not drugs, just words. The lead scientist, Wendell Johnson, was a speech pathologist who once stuttered himself. He believed that stuttering wasn't purely biological. He thought it could be learned through fear, through shame, through pressure. So to test it, he designed an experiment, one that would become infamous, one that would haunt some of its subjects for the rest of their lives. 22 children were recruited from a nearby orphanage. Most of them didn't stutter at all. They were normal, healthy kids. But they were vulnerable, alone, without parents, without defenders. Perfect, from the scientist's point of view. The children were divided into two groups. In one group, the positive group, the researchers praised them. They were told, "You speak beautifully. You're very articulate. Such a clear voice. You should be proud." The other group, the negative group, they were treated very differently. They were told, "Stop speaking unless you can do it right. That sound you made, that was wrong. You are developing a stutter. If you're not careful, you'll never speak clearly again." Over and over, these suggestions were drilled into their heads. Even if the child didn't stutter before, even if their speech was perfect, the seed of doubt had been planted. And like seeds, doubt grows. Some of the children in the negative group began to hesitate when they spoke, then stumble, then avoid speaking altogether. They became nervous in conversations, afraid of getting words wrong, afraid of being judged, afraid of their own voices. By the time the experiment ended, some had developed real, long-lasting speech problems, not because of anything inside them, but because of what had been suggested to them. They were told they were broken, and so they became broken. The researchers took notes, collected data, measured the changes in fluency, and then they left. No therapy, no apology, no effort to undo the damage. The results were never even published at the time. Why? Because the world was changing. World War II was breaking out, and the ethics of experimentation, especially on vulnerable people, were being questioned like never before. The study was quietly buried, hidden for decades, until it was unearthed in the 2000s and given a new name by the press, the monster study. Some of the children never fully recovered. In interviews years later, participants described feeling ashamed to speak throughout childhood. Some avoided public speaking for life. Some struggled in school. Some just grew quiet. One woman described it like this: "They took my voice and made me afraid of it." But there's something even more chilling here, because this wasn't a torture device. It wasn't a drug or a surgery or an electric shock. It was just suggestion, just a trusted adult telling a child what to believe about themselves. And the child believed it. So what does that say about us? About how easy it is to shape another person's inner world. Not with force, but with feedback. Imagine this. A little girl sings at the dinner table. She's not perfect, she's still learning. Then someone says, "You're not really a good singer." That's it. One sentence. And maybe she never sings again. Not because she can't, but because someone handed her doubt like it was a gift, and she accepted it. That's what the monster study was really about. It wasn't just about stuttering. It was about the terrifying power of belief. That if you tell someone they're damaged, they might believe you and live accordingly, even if it was never true. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, think back. Do you remember anything you were told when you were young? Something that made you feel small? Less than? Not enough? A moment that planted a sentence deep inside your mind. A voice that still whispers, "You're not good at this. You'll never be smart enough. Don't speak unless it's perfect." We all have those voices, but here's the truth. They're not yours. They were planted, and they can be unplanted. The monster study showed how easy it is to hurt with language, but it also revealed a hidden truth. If words can break us, then maybe words can also heal. So as you lie in bed tonight, let me offer you different words. Your voice matters. Your story matters. You are allowed to speak. Even if it's not perfect, you don't have to believe what the experimenters said. Not then, not now, not ever. Montreal, Canada. The year was 1957. Tucked inside a respected psychiatric hospital, a strange kind of science was unfolding. Not the kind with microscopes and lab coats, but the kind done in shadows, behind closed doors, with patients who never gave full consent. They called it psychic driving. But it wasn't about healing the mind, it was about breaking it. The man behind it all was Dr. Ewan Cameron. He wasn't some rogue lunatic. He was one of the world's most respected psychiatrists, president of the American Psychiatric Association, a man admired in public and feared in private. He believed he could erase mental illness by erasing the mind itself, like wiping a chalkboard clean. He just had to destroy everything on it first. His victims? Patients seeking help for anxiety, depression, trauma. Some just wanted help sleeping. Instead, they entered a place known only as the sleep room. What happened there still doesn't feel real. First, patients were drugged, heavily sedated with barbiturates, LSD, thorazine, and insulin. Some were kept in a drug-induced coma for weeks, not hours, weeks. During this time, Cameron bombarded their ears with looped audio messages, played through speakers inside their pillows, repetitive statements, endless commands, things like, "You are a failure," "You have no mother," "You will obey," "You are not who you think you are." These recordings could run for 16 hours a day, for months. They called it psychic reprogramming. But in truth, it was psychological torture. Then came the second phase, even darker, electroconvulsive therapy, but not the standard version. Cameron used it at 30 to 40 times the recommended intensity, over and over. Blasts of electricity meant not just to shock, but to obliterate identity. Some patients lost the ability to speak, to recognize their own families, to control bodily functions, to remember their childhoods. Their minds weren't healed, they were shattered. One woman, Gail Kastner, entered the Institute for Mild Depression. She left as a different person. She forgot her name, her history, her education. She would spend the next decades struggling to live with a mind she no longer recognized. She once said, "They took away me and left a shell." At the time, no one knew who was funding all of this. But years later, the truth came out. It was the CIA, specifically Project MK Ultra. They were looking for methods of mind control, how to break a person's will, how to rewrite someone's beliefs, how to create obedience. And they found in Cameron a willing partner. He called it medicine. But it was never about healing. It was about erasure. Think about that. Patients came to a hospital for help and left without memories, without language, without identity, not because of a disease, but because someone wanted to play God with their minds. But here's the most disturbing part. No one was ever charged. No apology came from the government until decades later. Many victims died before they were ever acknowledged. Some remained locked in their mental prisons until the end. So what can we learn from the sleep room? That minds are fragile, that trust can be weaponized, that science without ethics becomes horror. But also something more, we often imagine trauma as loud and sudden, a crash, a scream, a war. But this trauma was quiet. Whispers through pillows, buzzes of electricity, hours, days, weeks, until the human inside faded. It forces a question. What makes you you? Is it your name, your memories, the way your mother spoke to you, the song you played on repeat as a teenager, the sound of your own voice when you laugh? Now imagine, someone takes those away, one by one, until you don't remember how to write your name, or why you're afraid of the dark, or what love once felt like. Would you still be you? Cameron believed he could rebuild the mind from nothing. But you are not a machine. You are not a list of data to be wiped and reinstalled. You are the sum of your scars, your stories, your dreams, your chaos. To erase the darkness, he erased the light too. As you lie in bed tonight, in the safety of your room, let yourself hold on to something. Your memories, your voice, the fact that no one has the right to rewrite your soul. Not with words, not with wires, not with science dressed as salvation. You are not a blank slate, and you never should be. It started with a man in a white lab coat and a clipboard. That's all. No gun, no threats, just authority. Polite, calm, scientific. And yet, under those simple conditions, ordinary people committed acts they never thought themselves capable of. Yale University, 1961. A quiet room. Two men meet. One is the teacher. The other is the learner. They draw slips of paper to decide their roles. But it's rigged. The real subject is always the teacher, and the learner, just an actor. The teacher is told to read word pairs out loud. When the learner makes a mistake, the teacher must give them an electric shock. There's a sleek machine in front of them. A panel of switches labeled with voltages. 15 volts, 30 volts, 45 volts, all the way up to 450 volts. Labeled simply, slight shock, moderate shock, danger, severe shock, XXX. The learner is strapped into a chair in another room. He screams at the first few shocks, begins begging, pounds on the wall. Eventually, he goes completely silent. But the man in the white coat simply says, "Please continue." The experiment requires that you continue. You have no other choice. And incredibly, most people do. Nearly 65% of participants pushed the lever all the way to 450 volts. Even when they thought the other man was unconscious, even when they cried, even when they shook with guilt, they still obeyed. Why? This wasn't some dystopian future. This wasn't Nazi Germany. This was a psychology experiment in a respected university with volunteers from all walks of life. They weren't evil. They weren't cruel. They were us. Teachers, salesmen, postal workers, housewives. And when asked later why they continued, most said the same thing. Because he told me to. Think about that. People were willing to kill a stranger because someone in authority told them it was okay. No threats. No punishment. Just a white coat and a calm voice. That was enough. Stanley Milgram, the psychologist behind the study, wasn't trying to create monsters. He was trying to understand them. Just a few years earlier, The world had watched the Nuremberg trials, where Nazi officers defended themselves by saying, "I was just following orders." Milgram wanted to know, was that possible? Could an ordinary person, someone like you, commit terrible acts under the right conditions? And the answer was yes. Terrifyingly, yes. What made it worse? The people giving shocks weren't enjoying it. They suffered, they sweated, they hesitated, but they still continued, not because they wanted to hurt, but because they felt like they had to obey. They gave up responsibility. They told themselves, "I'm not the one doing this. The man in the lab coat is." That is the dark genius of authority. It doesn't scream. It doesn't threaten. It whispers, "It's not your fault. You're just doing your job." And that whisper is how wars begin, how atrocities are justified, how humans turn against each other. But here's what's worse. When Milgram told psychiatrists what he planned to test, they predicted that less than 1% of people would go to the maximum voltage. They were wrong by over 6,000%. Because we all want to believe we'd be the hero, the one who stands up, the one who says no. But the truth is harder. Most of us just follow the script, especially when we're told it's for science, or security, or the greater good. Especially when the man in the white coat looks calm, speaks clearly, and never raises his voice. So what do we do with this knowledge? Do we lose faith in humanity? No, we use it as a mirror. Because if we don't understand what we're capable of, we can never choose differently. Milgram's experiment wasn't about obedience, it was about conscience, and how easily it can be overridden if we let it. Tonight, as you fall asleep, remember this. You always have a choice, even when someone tells you that you don't, even when everyone else is obeying, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. That's when it matters most. You are not a machine. You are not a lever on a panel. You are not just doing your job. You are a person with a mind, a will, a responsibility. Sometimes the most radical act is to simply say no. What happens when your words become a curse? It began with good intentions, or so they said. Iowa, America still recovering from the Great Depression, a time of hardship, of survival, of silence. And in the quiet halls of the University of Iowa, a psychological experiment was about to begin, one that would scar children for life. The man behind it was Wendell Johnson, a respected speech pathologist, a former stutterer himself. He believed stuttering wasn't just biological, but psychological, that it could be induced or erased with the right words. He wanted to prove that labels, what people are told about themselves, could change the way they speak, the way they behave, the way they see themselves. So he turned to the most malleable minds of all, children. The experiment used 22 orphans, all from the Iowa Soldiers' Orphans Home, children with no parents, no defenders, no choice. Half of them had normal speech. The other half had mild speech problems. None of them knew they were about to become test subjects. The children were divided into groups. To one group, those who stuttered, the researchers spoke words of encouragement. "You're doing fine. You're improving. Speak as much as you like." But to another group, children who spoke normally, they did the unthinkable. They told them, "You have a speech problem. You must correct every mistake. People will laugh at you. You should not speak unless you can do it right." They were scolded for hesitating, corrected for pauses, punished for simply being children. The result? Some of those children who had spoken perfectly before, began to stutter. They withdrew, became anxious, afraid to speak, silent in class, afraid of their own voice. They weren't born broken. They were made that way. By science, by words, by suggestion. The study was never published at the time. Why? Because the researchers themselves feared the backlash. They knew they had done something monstrous. And so the data sat in silence, buried, until decades later when it was rediscovered and exposed, and the world finally saw it for what it was. The media called it the monster study, a name that stuck, because the real monsters weren't the children. They were the ones with clipboards, with kind voices, with intentions. Think of words, just words, turned confident children into silent, stammering versions of themselves. No surgery, no drugs, no trauma, just belief, planted like a seed and watered with shame. How many times has this happened in your own life? Someone told you, "You're not smart. You're too sensitive. You're bad at this. Why are you always like that?" And something inside you believed it, even if just a little. It became a loop, a stutter in your thoughts, a hesitation in your actions, a quiet voice that whispered, "They were right about me." That's the true horror of the monster study. It wasn't just what it did to those children, it's what it proves. That the mind can be wounded without a single touch. That the damage we carry often comes not from what happened, but from what we were told. It's easy to look back and say, "I would never let that happen to me." But words are sneaky, especially when they come from someone you trust. A teacher, a parent, a therapist, a partner, yourself. They settle in, unnoticed, until you mistake them for truth. But here's the other side. If negative words can do such harm, imagine what positive ones could do. Not the fake kind, not empty praise, but genuine, steady affirmation. What if someone had told those orphans, "Your voice is strong. You have nothing to prove. It's okay to make mistakes. You are more than your words." Would they have grown confident? Would they have flourished? What kind of world would we live in if that was the experiment we ran? Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, listen carefully to the voice inside you, the one that echoes through your memories. Whose voice is it? Does it build you or break you? Is it your own or someone else's? And more importantly, do you want to keep listening? Because here's the secret. You can choose a new voice right now. You don't need permission. You don't need a clipboard or a degree. You just need this. A whisper that says, "I am not broken. I am learning. My voice matters. I decide who I become." The monster study taught us how words can wound. But now, you know how they can heal. Start there. Sleep well. Imagine a baby. Just a baby. 11 months old. Still learning to walk. Still laughing at silly faces. Still trusting everyone. His name wasn't really Albert. We don't even know his real name for sure, but history calls him Little Albert. And in 1920, he became part of an experiment, one that would shape how we understand fear and how easily it can be created. The man behind it was John B. Watson, the father of behaviorism. He believed emotions weren't born. They were learned. Fear, love, hate, all just reactions, conditioned. Like training a dog to sit. He wanted to prove it, not with rats, not with monkeys, but with a child. At first, little Albert was shown a white rat. He reached for it, smiled, touched its fur. He wasn't afraid. Then came the twist. While Albert played with the rat, Watson made a loud, terrifying sound, banging a steel bar with a hammer right behind him. The baby flinched, cried. His body recoiled in shock. Again and again, they paired the rat with the terrifying noise. And soon, the transformation began. The next time Albert saw the rat, even without the noise, he cried, turned away, tried to crawl. He had learned white rat equals fear, But it didn't stop there. He began to fear other white things: a rabbit, a dog, a fur coat, even a man's white beard. His brain had generalized the fear. It had spread, like ink through water, like a shadow that touched everything soft and white. Albert didn't know it was an experiment. He didn't know he was being studied. He only knew the world suddenly became frightening. He didn't ask for fear. It was given to him, planted, engineered. Watson had proven his point. Fear could be created, but he never untaught it. He never reversed it. He just let Albert go. They never deconditioned the fear, never helped him heal. He was a baby, and he was disposable to science. Decades later, psychologists tried to find out what happened to him. Some believe he died young from illness. Others say he lived a quiet life, never knowing why certain things made his skin crawl. We may never know the truth, but the scars of that experiment remain in the textbooks. And maybe in the minds of every child who learns to fear something they once loved. Now pause and ask yourself, what fears were given to you? What did you once love, but now avoid? Was it public speaking, being vulnerable, trusting people, trying something new? Did someone bang a loud bar behind your joy? That's the quiet horror of the little Albert experiment. It's not just about one baby in 1920. It's about you, right now. You were conditioned too, not with steel bars, but with criticism, with rejection, with shame, with silence. You learned trying equals danger, love's pain, being seen's risk, and so your body flinches. You say no when you want to say yes. You hide when you long to be held. You scroll instead of speak, avoid instead of act. But here's something Watson never taught. Fear can be unlearned. It takes time, gentleness, and repetition. You show your brain, I was hurt, but I'm safe now. I'm not that child anymore. This white rabbit won't bite. And slowly, the body listens. It begins to release, to breathe, to trust. Tonight, as you rest your head, you may feel fears stirring in the dark. Not monsters under the bed, but echoes in your nervous system. Let them pass. They are old alarms, triggered by memory, not reality. Whisper back, I see you. Fear, you're not my enemy. You were just trying to protect me. But I'm okay now. Let those words become your new conditioning, your new bedtime experiment. Because you are not longer powerless. You have the choice to soften, to rewire, to reclaim what was taken. The past was written without your consent. But your future is yours to design. Sleep gently, you are safe. His name was Bruce. Born in Canada, 1965, a healthy baby boy, until something went wrong. At just 8 months old, Bruce went in for a routine circumcision. But there was a terrible accident. The surgeon used an electric needle, and it burned off his penis completely. His parents were devastated. What future could a boy have without one? They searched for answers and found one man who claimed he had the solution. A man named Dr. John Money. Dr. Money was a psychologist, a rising star at Johns Hopkins University. He believed that gender wasn't something you were born with. It was learned, built, socially programmed. He believed you could raise a boy to be a girl if you started early enough. To him, Bruce was the perfect test subject. Dr. Money convinced the parents, raise him as a girl, change his name, dress him differently, never tell him the truth. And so, Bruce became Brenda. At 22 months old, Bruce's identity was erased, replaced, reconstructed by science. They gave him hormone therapy, girl clothes, girl toys. They shaped her world to reflect one identity, female. Dr. Money visited Brenda and her twin brother every year. He published papers calling the experiment a resounding success. He called Brenda the proof that nurture could override nature. But it was a lie. Behind closed doors, Brenda was struggling. From the very beginning, she never felt like a girl. She rejected dresses, refused dolls, preferred trucks, rough games, and standing up to pee. At school, she was bullied, mocked, isolated. She didn't feel like Brenda, but no one could explain why. She was confused, angry, ashamed, haunted by a body that didn't make sense, haunted by a secret no one told her. Dr. Money, meanwhile, continued pushing his agenda. He forced Brenda and her brother to undergo disturbing sexual role-play sessions. Under the name of therapy, under the cover of science. He said it was clinical, but the truth was abusive, deeply traumatizing. Brenda's pain only deepened. At age 14, Brenda confronted her parents. They finally told her the truth, that she was born Bruce, that she had been altered, and for the first time, her confusion made sense. She decided to take her identity back. She changed her name to David, began hormone treatment, had surgery, and tried to live as a man. But the damage was deep, not just physical, but psychological, existential. How do you recover from being experimented on by the very people who claimed they were helping? David tried. He got married, tried to live a normal life, tried to forgive, but his past wouldn't stay quiet. His twin brother fell into depression and died by overdose. And just 2 years later, at the age of 38, David Reimer took his own life. Dr. Money never apologized. He continued his work, celebrated in textbooks, praised in lectures, even as the truth unraveled, even as his experiment led to suicide. Because in science, sometimes ego comes before ethics. Tonight, this story is not just about gender. It's about identity, about being told who you are, what you must feel, how you must live. You may not have been part of a clinical experiment, but many of us were still conditioned, told what we should want, told how we must behave, told what's normal and what's wrong. And when we didn't fit the mold, we blamed ourselves, silently. But here's the truth. No experiment can erase. You are allowed to define yourself, not your past, not your parents, not doctors, not society, only you. You may not know who you are fully yet. That's okay. Let it unfold gently, day by day. Tonight, let this be your lullaby. I am not an experiment. I am not broken. I am becoming, and that is sacred. Sleep now, not as who others told you to be, but as you, in your quietest truth, in your deepest peace. You're home now. It began in the summer of 1971, Stanford University, basement of the psychology building. A group of 24 young men volunteered for what they thought was a harmless study. Just 2 weeks. They'd be paid, and they were told, you'll play roles, some of you as prisoners, some of you as guards. It sounded like a game, a simulation, an experiment about authority and behavior. They had no idea what was coming. The psychologist in charge was Dr. Philip Zimbardo. He wanted to study the psychology of power, how environment changes people, how roles shape identity. So he created a fake prison, concrete walls, tiny cells, steel bars, and then he cast the participants into their roles, randomly. Coin flip, half became prisoners, stripped of names, given uniforms and numbers, stripped of power, told when to sleep, eat, speak. The other half became guards, sunglasses, batons, uniforms, total authority. It only took 6 days for everything to fall apart. At first, the guards were hesitant, polite, still acting like regular guys. But slowly, things changed. They began issuing punishments, yelling, forcing prisoners to do push-ups, jumping jacks, humiliating tasks. They started making them clean toilets with bare hands. They made them hold stress positions for hours. It wasn't long before the prisoners broke, emotionally, psychologically. Some cried, some begged to leave. One even had a mental breakdown on day 2. And what did Dr. Zimbardo do? Nothing. He watched. He allowed it. He told the guards to maintain order. The simulation had become real, and no one knew where the performance ended, and the cruelty began. Some guards became sadistic, inventing punishments, pitting prisoners against each other, calling them by numbers only, laughing at their pain. They weren't evil people. They were college kids, just like you, just like me. But something about the power, the uniform, the system, it infected them. Dr. Zimbardo himself got caught in the illusion. He stopped being the researcher. He started behaving like a prison superintendent, detached, cold, justifying the trauma in the name of science, until one person intervened. A graduate student named Christina Maslach came to visit the study. She was horrified. She confronted Zimbardo directly. "What you're doing is terrible. These are real people. You've lost control." And only then did he stop it. After 6 days, instead of 2 weeks, the aftermath was chilling. Many of the guards were shocked by what they had done. They didn't recognize themselves. Many of the prisoners carried the scars for years. Some developed PTSD symptoms. Some never trusted authority again. And the world watched as the line between role play and reality collapsed. What did we learn? That under the right conditions, anyone can become cruel. Even you, even me. It doesn't take evil, it just takes permission, structure, and silence. So tonight, if you've ever felt powerless, if you've ever been trapped in a system that made you feel less than human, remember this: you weren't weak, you were reacting to something unnatural, something designed to break you. But you're not broken, you survived. You're still here. You're still here, and that's strength. If you've ever been the one with power, a teacher, a manager, a parent, ask yourself, did I use it with compassion, or did I slip into the role too deeply? Because what Stanford taught us is chillingly simple. Monsters are made, not born. Let tonight be your sanctuary, not a prison, but a place of release. Close your eyes now. You are not a number. You are not your role. You are not what they forced you to be. You are free. Here, now, finally. Tonight, you've traveled through some of the darkest corners of scientific curiosity, places where ethics blurred, where lines disappeared, where human lives were reduced to data points and observations. It's strange, isn't it, that the very science meant to help us understand human nature sometimes exposes just how fragile, how breakable, and how cruel that nature can become. But here, now, you are safe. These stories are not meant to scare you, but to remind you. You are not an experiment. You are not a number. You are not a subject waiting for approval. You are a person with thoughts, with feelings, with history. And more importantly, you have control over your breath, over your thoughts, over this quiet moment. So let it all go now. Let the stories drift away like dreams at dawn. Let your muscles soften. Let your heartbeat slow. Let your mind rest, not to escape the darkness, but to make peace with it. Because even in the most disturbing moments of human history, there is always one constant, the quiet resilience of the human spirit. And that spirit is in you. Now breathe. You are safe. You are calm. You are home. Good night.